Hi everybody, this is Michelle at michellesizemore.com. I'm a Creative Memories advisor, and today you'll learn how to make this layout using the Hummingbird and Flowers Border Punch from Creative Memories. I also use the Border Tools set. This is one of them. It comes in a set of two, and I used this edge. I used the red blade, and I used a 12-inch trimmer, and I always use a cutting mat with the custom cutting system. And I always like to have extra scissors on hand, both kinds, the regular and the micro, in case I need those, and I will need those. Okay, so let's set this stuff aside and get started. I'm going to cut this part first, the white and the green. This is everything I use to make the layout. I'm going to start with the white first, and this is the piece. I want it to look like this. So I'm going to show you how I got that look. Grab my mat here and my red blade. Before I get started, I want to get a good clean edge on both sides of this paper. This is white cardstock. So I'm going to line this up at the top and cut it with a straight blade and throw this away. So I've got two solid straight edges is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I'm going to just line this up to keep it straight at the top. Honestly, it doesn't really matter which side you lined it up with here, like which line, but I'm just going to do it with the furthest one on the right. So it's just easy to tell what I'm doing. So you just want it straight on the top and on the side. Then I'm going to put my pattern here, and I want you to see this. I'm not really going to go by these, but I wanted you to see these. Do you see these three little black lines? This one says RGB. So this means red blade, green blade, blue blade. I'm going to use the red blade, so I want it to come right here. And I just took a Sharpie and wrote in those little grooves, drew in the grooves so that you could see that. Okay, I'm just going to try to get as close to the edge as I can. And if I do try to line it up where it says R, I'm going to line my edge up with that. And the red blade comes closest to the pattern. So that's where that's going to go. So I'm going to put my two notches inside the track. This works just like the custom cutting system does with the circles and the ovals where the notches go in the track. And the blade is right here. And I am just going to cut. Okay. So I've got one side cut. Now I want to flip this over like this so that the side I just cut is on the left. I'm going to line the pointiest part up with that line right there, and then make sure I'm lined up at the top just to make sure everything's straight. Okay. And then so this is how this was cut. I want to flip this and cut it so that it'll come out looking like I want it to. But before I do that, I'm just going to take my ruler, and I want the skinny part to be 1.5 inches. That's just the size that I liked for this layout. So I'm going to line my ruler up and just draw a pencil line at the 1.5 inch mark, and do the same thing here. Okay, that's just for me to go by. And then I'm going to line this up. If y'all can tell, so this is raised and this is flat. That's so that this fits over your mat. Since the blade is going to come down just along the edge of this pattern, because I'm using the red blade, I'm going to line it up so I just barely see the pencil line to the right, and the same down here. And when it's all lined up correctly, everything fits snug. This fits over the top and bottom of the mat. So this part here is on the table and this part is raised and on the mat. So this is where I want to cut. I'm just going to put my 2 little notches right here inside the track and do the same thing I did before. So now I have this look that I want. Now I'm going to cut 2 strips. When I say strips, you'll see what I mean in a minute. Let's just line it up at the far right just to get it straight. And I don't have to measure this. I'm just going to put this over here. Well, I am going to line it up with the R, you know, close to that, so I know that it's giving me enough room to cut this. And I'm going to cut a strip of this green. I'm going to put my 2 notches inside the track. So I'm going to cut it that way, and then I'm just going to flip it over, line it up straight, and cut it this way. Again, that R line right there lines up with the edge of my paper. Okay. Now y'all are probably thinking, okay, that's way too wide. Well, this is what I'm going to do. Rather than measuring it to try to be all exact with getting it so that it'll make a border around this, I'm just going to cut 2 strips so I don't have to do all that measuring and be super precise, and it's going to turn out looking great. So I'm going to line this up to where this pointy edge is about at that 1 inch mark. You don't have to be exact on that, but that works for what the look I'm trying to get. And then I'm going to flip it over and do the exact same thing so that the outermost pointy edge is at the 1 inch mark. It's not really pointy. Maybe I should say where it peaks. Okay, and it's straight here, straight down, and I'm going to cut. So now I have my 2 strips. So let's get this out of the way. Grab a little water. Now, I need my repositionable tape runner. And I just want to put this white over the green on the top and bottom to make it look like it has a border. So this is the look that I'm going for with the border. Okay, so I'm going to put some repositionable tape runner on this edge, one long edge of my white, and then put it over the green and just let as much of the green show as I want, which is about like that. And then I'm going to press it down and make it stick. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This also just helps you save a little bit of paper, but honestly, I do it this way just because I don't want to have to be super precise in my measurements and take all that time to do that. But if you would prefer to be precise in your measurements and not to cut 2 pieces and just cut 1, you can certainly do that. It's completely up to you. So I want about the same amount to show on the top and bottom. So let's go about like right there. I love this bright green paper. Okay, so now I'm just going to press it all down and make it all stick. So there we go. Oops, I didn't press it down enough. I think I need a little bit more tape runner here. I missed a spot. Yeah, that's good. Okay, now I am going to mount this. Okay, I forgot to measure this, so I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to mount what I just made on top of this pretty tropical paper. This paper, if I didn't mention, is called Tropical Paradise. So I'm going to draw a pencil line where I cut it to, and then I'll measure it and tell you what that measurement is. I should have done that before I started, but I didn't think about it. So let's look. is 3.5 inches. So we're going to cut a 3.5 inch piece of this tropical floral paper, which I just love these colors. I love them. Okay, I'm going to line that pencil line up with the left-hand side dotted line here because that's where the blade comes down. Make sure it's straight at the top and make sure it's lined up down here as well. Okay, and then I'm going to cut, and now I have my 3.5 inch piece. So I'm going to mount this on top. I'm going to put some of this repositionable tape runner along both edges and get a few dabs in the middle. So we're going to line that up here. Just try to center it. And if you want to make this a little wider, you can. It's up to you. And then I'm going to mount this onto this pretty pink. It's got a cute little pattern to it. So I'm going to put some repositionable tape runner on the back, just some little dabs all the way down and in the middle. And I'm going to line this up with the side and the top so that there's no pink poking out past the side or the top. I do see where I need to just clean this up just a little bit right here. I'm going to use my micro scissors because I literally just need to cut like a sliver off of there. Okay, to even that up a little. So that's the base of my page, and now I just add my border. So we used this hummingbird and flowers border punch, which I think is so pretty. The first one I'm going to cut is a row of this dark green. There's a pack of cardstock that goes with this Tropical Gardens collection. So I'm using cardstock from that pack. If we run out of that pack before you can get some, you can order the colors individually. So to use this, I'm going to line it up to start on this black line right here. Okay, there's a little black line on the white part. Make sure it's straight here. And punch firmly with the palm of my hand. Then I'm going to come down and match that blue pattern up with what I just cut so that you don't see any more blue. You only see silver. I'm going to hold it firmly against this raised area here and punch. I'm going to scoop out my scraps after every couple punches. If you don't, they might get stuck up in there. It happens. And then I'm just going to do the same thing all the way down. Line it up over the blue. Make sure it's straight against here. Hold it firmly with your thumb and punch. And I'm going to quit talking and just finish it off. Okay, so I'm done with that. Let me scoop my scraps out of the way and throw these in the trash. Now, I would do the same thing. I would cut a row of pink and a row of yellow with this. I'm not going to do that since I've already shown you how to do it. I've already pre-cut those, so I don't have to redo it. Here they are. Now, I'm going to clean up the edges of this with my micro scissors. This is going to be my base. And rather than making it look like it has like half of a flower, I'm just going to go around that flower petal, kind of round it off to make sure it just looks like it ends with a single flower. And the same here, this is going to end with the actual bird on this side. And I'm just going to sort of cut around the design to make it look finished. And it is better, I think, to use micro scissors on this because it's so intricate. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this down like this. So I'm going to grab my mat because when I use my repositionable tape runner, I put it on a silicone mat so that it doesn't get on my table. And I am going to be pretty generous with this because I want to make sure all the little edges stick down, and so it sort of sticks down just like a sticker would. Okay, so let's stick this down here. Center it up best I can. This is so pretty. I love this collection and I love this punch. I'm so thankful. I'm going to go to Los Cabos, Mexico in a few weeks with Creative Memories. I earned the Creative Memory strip, so this kind of makes me think of some of the tropical pretty views that I'm going to see there. I'll probably use this collection on some of my pages. Okay, there we go. So you mounted that down, and that's your base. And then you want to cut these out so that you can layer them over. So I'm just going to cut one of each, but the first thing I cut was a pink bird. I'm going to put some white under here so you can see. So I'm literally just going to cut the bird out, follow along the pattern of his tail, and then sort of curve so that it works and it makes it look like a finished wing. That's pointy right there, and I don't like that, so I'm going to cut that. And then we're going to cut his beak off, or not cut it off, but cut around it so that it separates his beak. Okay, and then just kind of curve around to cut the little body. So I would do that with all the hummingbirds, make all of them pink, and we're going to layer that right here. And then I'm going to cut 2 yellow flowers together. I'm only going to do one of each just to show you, so we won't be on the video forever. So I'm going to cut that, cut around to make these look like finished flower petals. I can go back and clean it up in just a second. I want to kind of go around and make this look like a finished flower petal. Okay. And then I would go and clean up these edges to round them off with my micro scissors. And so I'm going to first put some tape runner on the back of this hummingbird and be very generous with it. And I am using the repositionable. It comes out in clear dots so that you don't get little white pieces sticking out everywhere and it looks messy. I use only the repositionable tape runner when I'm using cutouts like this. So I'm going to just cover that green, but I'm going to let a tiny bit show outside the edge to kind of give it like a look of a 3D so that it just defines it a little bit, and then press it down to make it stick. And then I would do it the same with my yellow flowers. Let's look at these and make sure these look okay. I think I did that upside down. Yeah. So these are the ones I already cut. And then I did kind of try to, that needs to be rounded off a little. It's just a little too pointy. Gotta hold it just right. You also have to hold it in the light just right so you can see it. So just kind of round that off. And then I would put my repositionable tape runner on the back of these. And, oh, I did it on the wrong side. Nope, I did it right. And we're going to just mount that, and again leave a little tiny bit of green showing around the edge to give it a little bit of a 3-dimensional look. And there you go. And if you prefer for your wing to like cover the flower, you can pick that up and cover it, and then you see more of the wing. It just depends on what you like. And then you would just do that all the way down, alternating. So this is your finished look. And these are the photo sizes. I'm just going to hold that up so you can see that. If you want to recreate that, I would suggest you take a screenshot of this right here. That's why I'm holding it still for you, to get all your measurements. But basically, these are 3.5 by 3 3/4 inches photos. All these are the same. And then I do my mats 1/4 inch bigger than the photo. So it's 3 3/4 by 4. And then this is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then I cut this 1/4 inch bigger. And this is 5.5 by 3 3/4. And I cut that 1/4 inch bigger. So to get a matte. So I know you really can't see the matte look, but these would be photos with a white matte. And I think that looks really pretty on this pink paper. Thank y'all for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.